Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mel. As I mentioned in my November 2021 reading wrap-up, I recently finished Crescent City, House of Earth and Blood, and today I want to start a fight and I just want to complain. I've said it before, but I've read ACOTAR and Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas, and honestly I don't know how Crescent City ranks in that list. ACOTAR is definitely my favorite romance among the three series, while Throne of Glass has the best world building. I feel like Crescent City tried to do the romance and world building really well, but it kind of fell short for me. Before I get too carried away, I just want to mention that I didn't hate this book. I gave it a 3.5 stars, which means it's pretty average in my book, but definitely didn't live up to the hype for me. This video will have some spoilers for Crescent City, so if you haven't read it, I suggest you skip this one. But if you've read the book and loved it, please come argue with me in the comments. I'm going to start off with a very short synopsis, then go into the review, and then finally end off with my series predictions. Crescent City is about a 20-something-year-old girl named Bryce whose friends are murdered by a demon. There's also Hunt Athalar, who's a fallen angel that's now enslaved as an assassin for the angels he tried to overthrow 200 years ago, and he's given the deal of a lifetime. In exchange for helping Bryce find the demon who killed her friends, he'll be given back his freedom. The plot is obviously more complex than that, but I'm not going to sit here and try to summarize an 800-page novel for you because I just wouldn't do a good job. There's way too much to explain. Anyway, let's just get to the meat of the review, and again, there will be spoilers. First, let's address the elephant in the room. This book was 800 pages, and it had no reason to be. There was a huge information dump in the first 100 or 200 pages. I was so bored during the first 100 pages that I actually looked it up, and a lot of people were saying that the book doesn't really get good until 200 or even 500 pages in. And I'm sorry, but no, if your book is 800 pages long and it takes until page 500 for things to get good, and the whole time you're just adding filler scenes or info dumping, that's just not okay. You're not being a great writer. Second point is, where's the steam? This book has been pitched on Booktube and Book Talk to me as being very steamy with a lot of sexual tension, and the sexual tension part I agree with, but there was no steam. I was lied to.
Somebody lied to her several times.
It was like a 2 out of 5 on the spice level, and the scene that was actually included was so unsatisfying. You'd think that in 800 pages she'd manage to fit in just one decent steamy scene, but that didn't happen. My biggest problem with the series so far is that it feels like Sarah J. Maas plagiarized herself. Is it still plagiarism if you're ripping off yourself? Bryce is pretty much a clone of Aelin from Throne of Glass. She's witty, charismatic, brave, she's skilled, she's portrayed as badass, being gorgeous, and of course she has a destiny that nobody else knows about. And Hunt is basically just a copy of Rowan, but just worse. They both have wings, tattoos, they're both dark and broody, they both have an ex-lover who died tragically, they were enslaved in the past, plus Rune is basically just an emo version of Adian. This is probably the most disappointing aspect of Crescent City for me. I just felt so robbed and cheated out of having unique, dynamic characters. Last thing I'll say before I move on to my series predictions is that Hunt was just a terrible person throughout the entire book. He was so quick to judge and dismiss Bryce when they first met, thinking she's just a party girl and she did this to herself. Plus his betrayal was absolutely awful, and I understand why Bryce forgave him, but I just don't agree with it. He thought he knew the truth about what happened to Danica, but he didn't tell Bryce, even though he knew how important it was for her to find out the truth and get closure. I get that he started to actually fall in love with Bryce and tried to back out of the drug deal because he knew it was wrong, but that doesn't really justify all he did. It just really bothered me how Bryce was so quick to forgive him, and they haven't really discussed all that went down. I don't think Hunt is irredeemable at this point, but he needs to make up for what he did. I know that some people might argue that Hunt was justified not telling Bryce everything because she was keeping secrets from him too. She knew that she was very powerful and that Rune was her brother, but I don't really see those as secrets comparable to her betrayal. The real love story for me was between Danica and Bryce. I know Danica wasn't alive for a long time in the book, but just seeing the journey that Bryce went through to avenge her death was really touching. I just want a queer romance from Sarah J. Maas, but she refuses to give me one. She just pops out the same story over and over again, and maybe it's my fault for reading it, but I just want to be impressed. Let's move on to the series predictions. I think some of mine are really controversial. The first one is, I think Bryce and Hunt are endgame. I do have some conflicting feelings about this, so just hear me out. On one hand, I didn't really see the love grow between them. It felt more like lust to me. Also, I feel like Hunt is always sexualizing Bryce. He talked a lot about how she was sexy and her ass was great or something, but there wasn't really anything about how beautiful she is or anything like that. But based on Sarah J. Maas's other series, I can kind of make a prediction of where this is going. Aelin was betrayed by Chaol and she never forgave him. But then we have Bryce, who was betrayed by Hunt, but she immediately forgave him. Then we have Feyre, who sacrificed herself at the end of ACOTAR to save Tamlin's life. And in Crescent City, Bryce tries to exchange her life and some money in exchange for Hunt's freedom, but he refuses. It feels like the love interests are making the same mistakes they made in previous books. What's different is how the female lead has responded to them. Sarah J. Maas kind of did the opposite of what she did in previous books to show that these characters are meant to be. It was interesting that the person that Bryce chose to call when she thought she was dying was Hunt, of all people, not her mom or Rune or anybody else. I'm pretty sure that Bryce is older than both Feyre and Aelin, and she's had relationships before the book even started. Whereas with Feyre and Aelin, we see pretty much every relationship they've ever had. So I feel like SJM wouldn't feel the need to give us another love interest. Ultimately, I think that Hunt and Bryce are endgame, given that Hunt has tattoos and wings, and pretty much fits the stereotype of Sarah J. Maas's typical love interest. Plus, there's no way that Sarah J. Maas would do another love interest switcheroo for the third time in a row. The last prediction I have is about Hunt's real name. I think it's Orion or Orion, I don't know how to pronounce it. The name is based on Greek mythology, and in most versions, if not all versions, he ends up dying. And in one of the more popular versions, his lover is tricked into killing him. So I'm predicting that Bryce will end up killing Hunt either accidentally or she'll be tricked into doing it. The ending implied that Hunt's dad is somebody important, so I'm thinking that maybe he's an Asteri. Whatever the case, it'll be interesting to see what kind of daddy issues there are to unpack. That's all I have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments what you thought about this book. If you loved it, I would love to argue with you in the comments. And if you hated it, I'd love to hear your thoughts as well. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye guys.